Now, thank you very much for staying with us. Now, 1 year since Dr. Miguna Miguna jetted back into the country, we all know he's a man who's not shy of making his mind known. And as recent as 6 days ago, Dr. Miguna Miguna clearly noted that beyond 2027, Kenyans will not remember President William RUTO for his eloquence of foreign trips, but for the unemployment, poverty, and hunger. He says, stop agonizing, organize. Tonight, Brian Amwai speaks to one Dr. Miguna Miguna on the state of affairs in the country.
All right, good evening. Welcome to the bottom line tonight here on Lookuptv. My name is Brian Amwai. Now tonight, we do have a conversation with Dr. Miguna Miguna on various issues, starting with the state of affairs in the country, and also 1 year since he came back into the country. How has this year been for him? We're just about to tax talk as we get to the close of the year, this 2023. Thank you so much, Dr. Miguna, for joining us and making time for the bottom line tonight here on Lookuptv.
Thank you.
All right, Doctor, let me just start with, it has been 1 year and about 2 months, I believe, since you came back into the country. How has the past year been for you as far as just getting back on track with your life here in Kenya and just your businesses?
It's been hectic. I spent most of it trying to repair my house. Which, as everybody knows, was severely destroyed by the Uhuru Kenyatta regime. I'm not even yet completed 100%. Then I've been trying to pursue the people that destroyed my house to make the payments that they were ordered to pay. That has not happened. Then I've been trying to just get back to my life. It's been slow, but it's getting there.
Okay. All right. Because you're coming back to some extent, we are actually talking about looking at your pursuit for justice, because you're forced out of the country and coming back, you're hoping to get that justice. How far is that? How far are you when it comes to seeking justice for your forced removal from the country?
I think very far. So I'll start with the immediate issues, problems that are obvious. Mm-hmm. So number one, almost all the people that persecuted me, that violated my rights, except Matiang'i and Kibicho and the rest, are in this government. Mm-hmm. And in fact, they've been promoted. So for example, the person who was the head of police, who was even convicted for contempt, Boynet, works at State House. The head of police in Nairobi, Koome, is now the head of police in Kenya. The person who actually came and destroyed my house, Said Kiprotich, has been promoted. So I don't feel safe. I don't feel good about it. That's number one. Number two, there was a judgment that was rendered by Justice Chacha Mweta on the 14th of December 2018. That judgment, only the principal has been paid, the interest and the cost have not been paid, and they've been fighting it. They're still fighting it. Even the Office of the Attorney General is fighting it. Number three, I sued them for malicious prosecution. I sued them for forcing me out of the country, for detaining me, and for torturing me, and for blocking me from coming back to the country, including destroying my passport. That's called a torts claim. That's where a lot of damages are paid for violations that were made. They sneaked behind me, and 4 days before I returned to the country, last year in October, they took all the cases that I had against the state and other entities they took them before one judge called Meoli, who dismissed all of them without notice to me. So I didn't know that they were dismissing them. I didn't know the basis for the dismissal. They are saying I delayed in prosecuting the cases, but everybody knew that I was not in the country. And everybody knew that I couldn't do anything about the cases I was doing, and I'm representing myself, if I'm not physically allowed into the country, and if I am not given notice of. So I'm fighting back. I've made applications to reinstate all my cases, but they're fighting. So that means that things have not really changed. The president promised me to rectify the problem when I met him last year, and he hasn't done anything.
So he hasn't lived up to his promise.
He apologized to me and told me that he would give the Attorney General instructions. I've not seen those instructions. So in a way, I feel betrayed by the president because he has not done what he promised him to do. And I feel betrayed that after 5 years of persecution, this government doesn't seem to know that justice delayed is justice denied. And I've been denied justice for so long. And what happened to me was so egregious. It's never happened to anybody else since Kenya got its flag independence. And so I am absolutely disappointed, and I am extremely upset that William Ruto and his government will continue to do what Uhuru Kenyatta did and pretend that they were not part of it.
Let me ask you, when you look at how your cases have been handled, and you say you're being they are fighting back as far as these cases are concerned, then are you losing hope as far as getting justice is concerned for you?
I would never lose justice. Otherwise, I would not be doing what I'm doing. I'm not a person who surrenders. I've never surrendered. Raila Odinga surrendered. In 2018, I didn't. And I didn't surrender up to the point at which they now returned my passport and allowed me to enter the country. I did not surrender. I did not give up hope. I did not stop fighting, and I will never stop fighting. Justice is never granted on a silver platter. The people that are oppressing Kenyans will never surrender their privileged positions without a fight. So I know, and I've always known, that you never get justice without a struggle, and that I will eventually get justice once we win through the struggle.
All right.
So no, I'm not going to give up.
And this is the thing, when you say the president did promise you when you came back into the country last year that you're actually going to receive justice, but nothing has been done so far. Are you by any way in touch with the president to air out your grievances?
No. There's no grievance to air. These are very clear things. I don't have to convince anybody to do anything. I got judgment, right? Judgments. And I got orders given to me by the court. And those judgments need to be complied with. I don't have to request, I don't have to beg, I don't have to convince anybody to do it. It's what the rule of law requires. It's what justice requires. If we adhere to the principles of constitutionalism, if we are a democracy, then we must do them. So that's number one.
Okay.
Number two, what was done to me, what he apologized for, is in the public domain. Everybody knows what happened. People came into my house purporting to work for the government. They were not wearing police uniform. They destroyed my house with bombs. They abducted me. They kept me in detention. They tortured me for 6 days, forced me out of the country. Then after I received the orders to come back, and I did, on March 26th, 2018, they blocked me from entering the country They abducted me again. They detained me at the airport for 3 days. Then they sedated me and then transported me unconscious to Dubai. Then left me there. Then I found my way back to Canada, then tried to get back to the country for more than 4 years. And they continued blocking.
Okay.
So when you look at that, I don't have to convince anybody. So it shows very badly that after all this time, I'm still talking about the same thing. They bribed all the lawyers that were working for me. None of them represents me anymore. They bribed all of them. I was paying my lawyers. They were paying the same lawyers to undermine my cases. And they have continued to do so. You see, the other day, Ngatia, senior counsel, tried to remove the name of Kialangwa from the case that had already been determined in 2018.
Okay.
So you think he didn't know what he was doing? And until I got involved in the case and took up the matter, he was insisting and probably going to get the order before these crooked judges.
Okay.
But the moment I appeared, he withdrew the case. So they've been struggling and trying to do everything possible to undermine the cause of justice, and I will not allow them.
Right. Now, in one of the cases, you actually awarded in terms of compensation for the violation of your rights, and it was 7 million. And you say it is the principal alone that was actually paid. How much was that?
It was 7.27. 7,270,000.
Okay.
But you see, they paid that this year, in September, after more than 5 years, with no interest. And they have not paid the cost. So tell me, if you took out a loan in December 2018, and you're repaying your loan after 5 years, would you pay no interest? If you got judgment against you, and you're paying after 5 years, would you pay no interest? I mean, these are no-brainers. Every day in the Republic of Kenya, interests are paid for debts that are owed, and nobody argues about them. Why should there be an argument about mine? And they sat on the case and didn't pay for 5 years. Then they're still not paying. My costs were supposed to be taxed. They bribed my lawyer. They appointed my lawyer to a board, to chair a board in government. So my lawyer couldn't pursue the case. Look at that. Then I hired a new lawyer. They met with that lawyer, and from that time they met with that lawyer never came back to me. And that has been happening, including very old lawyers I don't want to mention here. They have bribed all of them. And it is so disheartening and so disappointing.
Okay.
But this is where we are. We don't have a country. Lawyers pretending to be working even for justice are all in the pocket of the government.
What will be the next step for Miguna Miguna as far as this is concerned? Because you say you're not giving up, but things seem to be a little bit stuck when you say the people that are supposed to be helping you are not somehow interested in doing that. So what will be the next course for you?
I told you, I've taken over my cases. I'm doing them myself.
So you're representing yourself?
Continue doing. Pardon?
You're representing yourself now?
I'm representing myself. I mean, if you can't hire a lawyer, if they're not going to stop bribing and buying these lawyers, what would you do? You take over the cases and do it yourself. Right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm doing. And they will not buy me.
All right. Let's get to the issue of current affairs here in the country and just make sense of it. Well, how would you rate the performance of this government? This is a government that you actually did endorse on this particular session. How would you rate its performance 1 year down the line?
I'm not sure that I endorsed the government on your station. There was no government to endorse on your station. You've not interviewed me since the election in 2022. So that is incorrect. I don't want statements that are incorrect to be made.
Okay.
Anyway, nobody has ever interviewed me since this government came to power. You have not interviewed me. So I don't think it is fair to say that. I endorsed the election of William RUTO. I supported his candidature in 2022. I campaigned for him. He won. Because the main thing was to defeat Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, who wanted to perpetuate an imperial system, a monarchical system in the Republic of Kenya. We managed to do that. So that was a great success. Regarding William Ruto's performance since he took power, he has not done greatly. As far as I'm concerned, he has not done anything substantial. Number one, he needed to start where he swore the oath to start. He said all the violations of the Constitution and the rule of law would be redressed, would be addressed. And he made good on it when he appointed the judges Uhuru Kenyatta had refused to appoint. And then he issued me with a passport that Uhuru Kenyatta had taken and destroyed. And the court orders had clearly stated that should be done. So that was good. But then he's stuck there. He stopped there. He's not done anything else. So for instance, what has stopped him, like I said in my case, from just adhering, complying with the orders and doing what is right? So he has not done that. Those judges also went to court, and a government governed by the rule of law and the principles of justice would not have pursued that case, for example. They should have met with those judges, agreed on the damages that are reasonable, and paid them, so that we don't have to fight over nothing. That is why I'm saying, if you know that you are wrong, and you recognize the fact that something wrong happened, then you can resolve it by saying, look, we did something wrong. What is the reasonable amount that we can come to? So that's number two. Number three, he hasn't dealt with corruption. He has not dealt with corruption, period. The other day, he had an interview where he was asked about this, and then he was talking about the independence of institutions. That's a cop-out. That's an excuse. As the chief executive of a country, you lead from the front. You have to send a message to your cabinet, to your principal secretaries, to the CEOs in government, that corruption will not be tolerated, and you start sacking those involved in corruption, and you give orders on what has to be done on all the corruption. For example, what happened to the 4 billionaires, dollar billionaires in Uhuru's cabinet? The money, we know where the money is. Even Uhuru's Pandora box money, where it is stashed, is public money. I've even offered to give them assistance to locate the money and repatriate the money to the country, because I know the people who can do that, who can help the Republic, and they're not interested. So the question is, why are you not locating stolen public money and taking steps to return the money to Kenya so that it can help the country develop, deal with unemployment, deal with poverty, deal with industrialization, deal with all the things that will make Kenya grow? That's number one. Okay. Number two, why is he not taking steps to deal with the people that stole the money? He cannot tell us that the police work independent of him. He appointed Koome. He appointed the DCI. He appointed the DPP. They were appointed without competitive hiring process. I say that without fear of contradiction, because these are not the best candidates in our country for anything, right? Most of them are also corrupt. Most of them grew up and rose in the system which is completely corrupt. And they were not picked or headhunted or selected because they're the most qualified Kenyans, that they have the highest levels of integrity and competence. No, they were picked because they're politically friendly. You can do that, but still pick people that are going to be able to help you deal with impunity in the country.
So you believe
William Ruto has not dealt with impunity. He has not dealt with the culture of impunity. And that's a great disappointment.
Okay.
So that's number 2. Number 3, in terms of disappointment, he's been a captive of the IMF and the World Bank. His economic advisors are captives of the IMF and the World Bank. You cannot solve Africa's problems if you are going to be a captive of the Western imperialist economic policy and institutions that bankrupted the entire African continent. So he thinks that being celebrated by the West is an achievement. It isn't. Celebration by the West means you're doing everything wrong for your country. That's what it has always meant since independence. All African leaders that are doing things to industrialize their country, to transform their countries, to make sure that their countries are food secure, to make sure that their countries are progressing, have never been supported by the West. So the moment you see the West celebrating you, you are doing something wrong. So William Ruto is doing everything wrong. That is why the West is celebrating him.
Okay.
And so that is a great disappointment to me. I thought he would think outside the box, that he would not become a captive like Uhuru Kenyatta did, and he would work like someone who struggled to become president. Mm-hmm. And he would care about those interests that coalesced to make his presidency become a reality. Because he would not have won if many of us did not campaign for him. Mm-hmm. If many Kenyans, patriotic Kenyans of goodwill, did not say we are going to put a stop to the imperial imposition of monarchical leadership of 3 families, the Kenyatas, the Mois, and the Odingas.
Okay.
We did that. But what have we gotten in return as Kenyans? Nothing, 0. We are hearing songs and poems and poetry and PR exercises. But there is no transformative policy and concrete programs to transform the country. Okay. The country is bankrupt. The shilling is fallen to its lowest since I was born. And they're telling us this is normal. It isn't.
Is there hope for Kenyans as far from where you sit? Do you feel like this government can actually redeem itself if actually they take to the words that Kenyans are speaking and also your words?
If they did, yes. It's so easy. A lot of people think this is nuclear physics. This is not nuclear physics. Economics is common sense, just like law. It's really common sense. There is nothing complicated about it. You cannot tax the country to death and expect to transform it. Because the country, first of all, most people are unemployed. So how do you tax unemployed people and intend to grow? First of all, you create employment, because employment will create income. Then you can tax income. If you are going to tax businesses, you make sure you create a conducive environment for these businesses to thrive, for them to make profit, then you tax profit. But you cannot tax revenue and expect to grow. This is basic common sense. Mm-hmm. You cannot grow from borrowed money if you are not making a lot of profit from that borrowed money. It's common sense, because you have to pay it back. But he's been borrowing and spending a lot of money traveling to do what? He's saying, yeah, I'm traveling to find work for Kenyans to go. To work as what? As maids abroad? You're trying to export farm workers, gardeners, in a very treacherous environment such as Israel, which is occupying another nation and bombing it, committing genocide, and you think Kenya is going to be free and Kenyans will be safe anywhere in the world when you do that, when you support apartheid regime, which is Israel occupying Palestine, then you say you're sending police officers to Haiti. Do you know Haiti? Like, why are they doing everything wrong?
Let me ask you.
So for me, the current government has failed, and it is continuing to fail.
Okay.
And unless or until William Ruto makes a turn and sees that this is not the way to solve any of the problems that he's saying he's going to solve.
Okay.
He's not even using his manifesto. He's forgotten about his manifesto. He's trying to impose things that are not even in the manifesto. So say, for example, the housing levy. The way he's gone about it is wrong. You can't impose these things the same way we are saying BBI could not be imposed. You engage the country in a genuine conversation. You solicit ideas from the best brains in the country. Then you introduce a concrete program after consulting the country. The country will support the program. The program will be a success.
Okay.
But you don't issue fiats and you tell people that if they don't agree, you are going to kill them. That is a recipe for disaster. Because people like Miguna will not be threatened. You will not tell us you're going to kill us and we will agree. We will fight you if you're going to kill us. You see what I mean? So you don't threaten the country. There are people who cannot be threatened in this country. This country belongs to all of us. And we want a democratic leader because that's what we thought we were electing. So William Ruto must stop threatening Kenyans. Mambo si matatu. Okay? The first thing is the rule of law. The second thing is constitutionalism. The third thing is democracy. It is not mambo ni matatu, and then you tell people, if you don't do this, I'll kill you because I have a weapon.
All right. Let me ask you this. Okay, on that particular point, let me ask you this, because you say the government is doing everything wrong, but we do have a Council of Economic Advisors to the president. What do you make of that? Are they the people that are advising the president wrong, or what exactly is happening?
Well, no. You see, I've been an advisor, so I know what advice is. Advisors simply give advice. And once you give your advice, it is up to the executive to do what he's supposed to do. And you don't take responsibility for what the executive has done, especially if you did not advise it. The fact that he has advisors doesn't mean he's following advice. That's number one. Secondly, I don't know if he has the best advice in the country or that the country can give. I'm not sure if people like Ndii are the best economic advisors in the country. These are right-wing conservative individuals pretending to be a liberal form. But if you look at the people that Ndii consider his role models, like Margaret Thatcher, those were extreme neocons that could never help an African country transform. So if those are the people that are surrounding you, if you think you're going to transform the country through some kind of evangelical mission in the name of economic answer, well, you will fail. Because that's not how countries are transformed. Okay. If you want to study and find out how countries are transformed, if you are an African, you study Thomas Sankara. How did he transform Upper Volta, which became Burkina Faso, to what it became by the time he was assassinated?
All right, Dr. Miguna, I seem to be running out of time. Let me just put this question to you. As far as liberating the country is concerned, because on a tweet that you put on your timeline on X, that is, you see, the government has to liberate itself before it actually gets to liberate Kenyans, and it has to liberate itself from IMF and the World Bank. What would be the best step to start with this government as far as that's concerned?
I did not say the government has to liberate itself. The government is a thing. A thing cannot liberate itself. We have to talk about individuals. You see, in as much as people want to hide under institutions, these institutions are not automatons that work on their, they're not robots. They are things that are led and that are controlled and influenced by individuals. So if these individuals are not liberated, mentally, intellectually, ideologically, if they are going to follow failed, what used to be called structural adjustment programs by the IMF and the World Bank, they will not succeed. So William Ruto must understand, first of all, what is his ideology? Because if you don't have an ideology, you cannot transform a country. What is his political, philosophical ideology? Because I don't understand it. As I say, if you don't have a philosophy of life or in life, if you don't have an ideology, a political, economic ideology, you will not be able to transform a country.
Okay.
So we don't understand what his ideology is. So if he's able to understand what his ideology is and works within the ideological framework, then he will be able to get somewhere. But when you have a hodgepodge, because this government is a hodgepodge, it's a mixture of all manner of things. You know, you have Ndi, you have Mudavadi, you have Rigiji, you have RUTO. Do these people have the same ideology as to where they want to go in terms of politics and economics? Because if they don't, they can't move.
All right. I want to come to my last issue here on conversation on things that happened this year as I wind up, because I'm totally out of time on this one. This has to do with the protests that we experienced in the country as far as, the economic situation of the country is concerned. People took to the streets. We went to the bipartisan talks, had a conversation, and there was a report that was actually finalized. What's your take on that? Did people actually get what they went to the streets for?
That was complete rubbish. I didn't support the so-called bipartisan talks, and I don't support the outcome of rubbish. That was BBI second version. It will fail. First of all, Kenyans will not allow themselves to be railroaded into another BBI, so that we have another constitutional dismemberment process. Spend billions of shillings the country does not have and cannot afford. Billions that should be better used to create jobs through building industry, modernizing agriculture, building hospitals, and building housing for Kenyans. So I will not support it, and I don't support it. If William Ruto gets into this, he's going to fail 100%. And I can guarantee you that if he pursues this with Raila Odinga, he's going to fail like Uhuru Kenyatta failed with Raila Odinga. And he will not be re-elected. That I will tell him without fear or favor. That if William Ruto pushes this nonsense called bipartisan report and tries to pursue Raila Odinga's fictions and useless pursuits, he's going to fail 100%. And we are not going to allow him to force us to support something, number one, that we have not, it is not our idea, number two, too expensive for the country, and number three, that we don't need. the country needs the implementation of the Constitution.
Okay.
All the constitutional provisions, values in the Constitution must be implemented before we talk about changing it.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Dr. Miguna. I'm totally out of time. I wish we could continue this conversation, but time does not allow me here. Thank you so much for your time. I don't take that for granted. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Don't mess up the tape.
Happy holidays, Dr. Ari.
You too.
All right, that has been Dr. Miguna Miguna talking to us about his pursuit for justice and also state of affairs here in the country as we come to the end of the year. He has been in the country for 1 year and he was out for close to 4.5 years. My name is Brian Amwai. I do always appreciate your time and you taking your time to watch this particular program. This is the Bottom Line KE. Let's do this again next year. Do have yourselves a lovely holiday.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through